Hey, it's Lena. 3 weeks ago, I stood in my parents' backyard, clutching a tray of cupcakes I'd spent all night decorating, while my family raised their glasses to my brother, Miles, without even glancing my way. Then my mom's voice cut through the chatter. To Miles, the only one who's ever made us proud. The words hit like a punch I didn't see coming. The tray wobbled in my hands, a cupcake sliding off and landing frosting first in the grass. No one noticed. Not my mom, not my dad, not even my sister-in-law, Kara, snapping photos for Instagram. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just set the tray on a picnic table, walked out the gate, and kept going until I was gone. This morning, I found something they tried to bury. Proof of who I am, who I've always been. But before I dive in, where are you right now? What's the time? Drop a comment, because maybe you felt like you were fading into the background too, until you realized the only person who needed to see you was you. It was one of those September evenings where the air smells like charcoal and mown grass, warm enough to make your skin hum, but cool enough to hint at fall. My parents' backyard was a glow of fairy lights, their wooden picnic tables draped in red checkered cloths that fluttered in the breeze. My brother, Miles, stood near the grill, his new company badge catching the light as he laughed with Dad, their voices loud and easy. He'd just been promoted to regional manager at a tech startup, and the whole family was there. Uncles, cousins, Grandma Ruth in her wheelchair, even neighbors who'd wandered over with bottles of wine. I'd been up until 2 a.m., piping buttercream roses onto those cupcakes, each one a tiny canvas of pink and yellow swirls. My hands still ached from the piping bag, my nails stained with food coloring. I thought, maybe this time someone would say, Lena, these are amazing. Maybe this time I'd be part of the glow. I was wrong. I stood near the edge of the lawn, the tray heavy in my arms, my sundress sticking to my back from the heat. Mom clinked her glass with a spoon, her pearl necklace glinting as she smiled. To Miles, she said, her voice carrying like it was meant for a stage. The only one who's ever made us proud. The words landed hard, sharp, like a door slamming in my face. I froze, my breath catching. I looked around, waiting for someone to laugh it off, to say, Come on, Lena's here too. But Dad just raised his glass, his mustache twitching in a proud grin. Kara angled her phone for a better shot of Miles, her flash popping. My cousins clapped, their bracelets jangling. Grandma Ruth sipped her lemonade, her eyes on the horizon. The tray tilted, and that cupcake fell, leaving a smear of frosting on the grass. I felt my face burn. Not anger, not yet, but that sick, sinking feeling of being erased, like I was a ghost no one could see. I didn't make a scene. I never do. I set the tray down, the cupcakes wobbling, and walked through the gate. My sneakers crunched on the gravel driveway, the sound loud in my ears. I passed the mailbox, its flag rusted and stuck upright. I passed the neighbor's dog, yapping behind a chain-link fence. I kept walking until I reached the bus stop 3 blocks away, a metal bench under a flickering streetlight. My phone buzzed once, a text from Kara. Where'd you go? Miles is cutting the cake. I didn't reply. I sat down, the bench cold through my dress, and checked my wallet. $120, a couple of crumpled bills, and some change. My backpack held a notebook, a water bottle, a hoodie, and a phone charger. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The 7:15 bus was late, its engine rumbling as it finally pulled up. I climbed on, paid the $2 fare, and took a seat near the back. The windows were smudged, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and red. No one looked at me, and for once that felt like a relief. I didn't know where I was going, not exactly, but I knew I couldn't go back. The bus dropped me downtown, where the air smelled like fried food, car exhaust, and something faintly sour, like spilled beer. I walked a few blocks to a motel off the main strip, its neon sign buzzing "Vacancy" in pink and green. The clerk, a guy with a faded anchor tattoo and a crossword puzzle, barely glanced up. One night? He asked, his pen scratching. Yay, I said, sliding him $45. He handed me a key on a plastic tag. the number 12 scratched in black marker. The motel room was small, the air thick with cigarette smoke and cheap pine cleaner that didn't quite mask it. The bed creaked when I sat down, its springs protesting. A lamp on the nightstand flickered, casting jittery shadows on a water stain above, shaped like a lopsided heart or maybe a burned-out star. The carpet was thin, stained, sticking slightly to my sneakers. I dropped my backpack and sat there, staring at my hands, still flecked with yellow food coloring. My phone was silent. No calls, no texts, just the faint glow of Kara's message, unanswered. I lay back, still in my dress, the ceiling fan clicking above me. I thought about the cupcakes, how stupid it was to care about something no one saw. But it wasn't just the cupcakes. I was 9, sitting at the kitchen table, coloring a picture for Mom's birthday. A house with flowers, a sun with a smiley face. Miles, 6, ran in with a soccer trophy, and Mom scooped him up, laughing. "My little star," she called him. My picture sat on the table, unnoticed, until Dad accidentally spilled coffee on it. "Oh, Lena, you can make another," he said, tossing it in the trash. I was 16, staying up late to finish a poster for the school art show. Mom promised to come, but she didn't. Miles had a debate tournament, and it's a big deal, Lena, you understand. I was 22, showing Dad my college portfolio, designs I'd poured my heart into. He flipped through it, nodded, and said, "Nice hobby." But Miles is out there making real money. Always Miles. Always the star. And me? I was the shadow, the one who didn't need attention because I was so independent. The next morning, I woke to the rattle of a housekeeping cart outside. Sunlight slipped through the blinds, dust motes dancing in the air. My bank account showed $312.47. Not enough for an apartment, but enough to keep going. I walked to a cafe a few blocks away, its windows fogged from the morning crowd. Inside, it smelled like espresso, burnt bagels, and something warm, like cinnamon. A chalkboard sign read, "Free Wi-Fi, bottomless coffee." I ordered a small black coffee, $2.10, and took a wobbly table near an outlet. My notebook was worn, its pages filled with sketches, to-do lists, and half-written thoughts. I opened my laptop, a clunky hand-me-down from Dad that groaned to life, and logged into a freelance platform I'd used once, years ago, for graphic design gigs. I updated my profile. Lena Harper, graphic designer, specializing in branding, logos, and digital illustrations. Detail-oriented, reliable, ready to bring your vision to life. Under About Me, I wrote, "I believe in creating work that speaks for itself, even when no one's listening." It felt like a vow, not to them, but to me. I applied to 15 gigs by noon, a cafe menu, a podcast logo, a flyer for a pet groomer, a banner for a yoga studio. My coffee went cold, but I kept sipping, the bitterness steadying me. A barista with pink hair and a nose ring refilled my mug without asking. "Rough morning?" she asked, her smile quick but warm. "Rough life," I said, half joking. She laughed, tossing a towel over her shoulder. "Been there. Hang in there, yeah?" Her kindness was small, but it stuck with me, like a pebble in my pocket. That week, I split my time between the cafe, the library, and the motel. The library was a haven, its air cool and papery, the hum of fluorescent lights soothing. I booked computer slots, answered client emails, and sketched drafts in my notebook. The motel room was my anchor, its chipped sink dripping, its fridge buzzing like a tired bee. I taped my receipts to the wall, $2.10 for coffee, $45 for the room, $1.50 for a granola bar, each one a step away from them. By Friday, I'd landed 4 gigs, $50 for a logo, $75 for a menu, $30 for a flyer, $100 for a website banner. The money wasn't much, but it was mine, earned with my hands, my eyes, my heart. No one could take it away. One night, I sat on the motel bed, sketching a logo for the pet groomer. My phone buzzed, and I flinched, expecting Kara's name. It was an email from the cafe owner. Lena, the menu is perfect. You captured us. Sending payment now. I smiled, a real one, the kind that warms your chest. I thought about my old portfolio, the one I'd built in college, full of designs I'd shown Mom and Dad. Pretty, Mom had said, barely looking. Miles, home for a weekend, had smirked. You should make something for my startup, Lena. I'll pay you, eventually. I'd laughed, spent weeks designing his logo, his business cards, his website mock-up. He used it all, never paid me, never said thanks. I'd let it go, like I let everything go, because that's what you do when you're the shadow. The memory clawed at me. I opened my cloud drive, searching for that portfolio. I needed to see it, to remind myself I'd been good at this once, but the folder was empty. My stomach lurched. I refreshed, checked again. Nothing. I searched my email, my pulse hammering, and found it. An email from Miles, buried in spam, sent 2 years ago. Hey Lena, borrowed your portfolio for a pitch. Cleaned up the files for you. Thanks. Cleaned up. He'd deleted it. My work, my proof, gone. I sat there, the motel's neon sign flickering outside, its buzz louder than my thoughts. I didn't cry. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left the shell. The next morning, I walked to the library, my sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. The air smelled like old books and lemon polish. I needed answers. I logged into Miles' startup website, something I hadn't done in years. There it was. My logo, my colors, my typography, all under his brand. I clicked deeper, into his press kit, and my breath caught. Screenshots of my portfolio, designs I'd spent months on, were labeled Miles Harper Originals. He hadn't just taken my work, he'd claimed it as his own. I printed the page, my hands steady but my chest tight. Back at the motel, I taped it to the wall next to my receipts. It wasn't just evidence, it was a truth I'd ignored too long. I thought about calling him, screaming, demanding he fix it. But what would he say? You're overreacting, Lena. It's just business. Instead, I opened my notebook and sketched. Not for him, for me. A new logo, a new portfolio, a new start. Each line was a rebellion, a refusal to stay erased. I worked until my hand cramped, the neon sign outside casting pink light on my pages. I didn't sleep much that night, but I didn't need to. I was awake in a way I hadn't been in years. A week later, I had enough gigs to afford a room in a shared apartment. It was small, a twin bed, a desk, a window overlooking a street where buses hissed and horns blared. The walls were bare, the paint peeling in corners, but it was mine. I hung my sketches, the printed press kit, and a note I'd found in my backpack, written by my high school art teacher. Lena, your work has soul. Don't let anyone dim it. I'd forgotten it, but now it was a beacon. I bought a chipped mug from a thrift store, blue with a faded sailboat, and made coffee in a second-hand pot. The mug was warm in my hands, grounding me as I worked. One evening, I was designing a banner when my phone buzzed. A voicemail from Mom. I hesitated, my thumb hovering. Her voice was soft, almost broken. Lena, we miss you. Miles is in trouble. Investors are questioning his work. Please, come home. We need you. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that echoed in the room. Need me. They hadn't needed me when I was right there, cupcakes in hand, heart on my sleeve. I didn't call back, but the voicemail lingered, like a splinter I couldn't pull out. The next day, I walked to the cafe, the air crisp with early fall. The barista with pink hair waved. Yo, you're back. Same coffee? I nodded, smiling. You're my hero, I said, and she grinned, tossing me a free muffin. On the house. You look like you need it. I sat at my usual table, the muffin warm and crumbly, and opened my laptop. That's when the mail arrived. A package, no return address, just my name in shaky handwriting. Inside was a USB drive, a folded letter, and a note. Lena, found this in Miles's old laptop. Thought you should have it. Kara. My hands shook as I unfolded the letter. It was from Grandma Ruth, written a year before she died. Lena, my girl, your designs are your voice. Don't let them silence you. I've left you my sketchbooks, my life's work. They're yours. Love, Grandma. My chest tightened. Grandma Ruth had been an artist, her sketchbooks full of watercolors and pen and ink drawings. Mom had sorted her things after she died, saying, "Nothing worth keeping." But here was proof. Grandma had seen me, believed in me. I plugged in the USB drive, half expecting it to be empty. Instead, it held my portfolio. Every file, every design, time-stamped from years ago. There was the logo I'd made for Miles, the business cards, the mock-ups. There were even scans of Grandma's sketchbooks, pages of flowers and cityscapes, her notes in the margins. For Lena, to inspire. I scrolled through, my eyes stinging. This wasn't just files, it was my worth, handed back to me. I sat back, the cafe's chatter fading. The muffin sat untouched, crumbs scattered on the table. I thought about Grandma, slipping me $5 bills, whispering, "You're the real deal, Lena." I thought about Mom, tossing her sketchbooks like they were junk. I thought about Miles, stealing my work and calling it his. The USB drive and the letter were a mirror, showing me who I'd been before they made me feel like no one. I printed the letter, taped it to my apartment wall next to the press kit and my teacher's note. 3 pieces of proof, 3 voices saying, "You are enough." I spent the next week rebuilding my portfolio, designing a website with clean lines and bold colors. I called it Lena Harper Designs, my name front and center. I sent the link to every client I'd worked with, along with a note. "This is my work, my story. Thank you for trusting me." The responses poured in. "Lena, these are incredible. You're a talent." The bakery owner wrote, "Your designs make my shop feel alive. Don't stop." I printed that one too, added it to my wall. But Miles' world was crumbling. A college friend in tech messaged me, "Miles' startup is tanking. Investors found out he didn't design his brand. They're looking for the real artist." I didn't reply right away. Part of me wanted to watch him fall, to see the empire he'd built on my work collapse. But that wasn't me. I wasn't here to destroy. I was here to reclaim. I booked a consultation with Priya, a lawyer who specialized in intellectual property. Her office smelled like lavender and old books, a calm oasis. I showed her the USB drive, the press kit, Grandma's letter, the timestamps. "You've got a strong case," she said, her pen tapping the desk. "A cease and desist will set things right without a lawsuit." I nodded. "I don't want his money. I want my name on my work." She smiled, a small knowing look. "That's the best kind of fight." That night, I drafted a letter to Miles' investors, attaching my portfolio, the USB files, and scans of Grandma's letter. "I'm Lena Harper, the designer behind the branding, credited to Miles Harper. Attached is proof of my work. I'm reclaiming my name and my designs." I hit send, my hands steady, my breath even. No anger, no tears, just truth. The fallout came fast. Miles' startup lost its funding. His website went dark. My phone buzzed with voicemails. Mom pleading, "Lena, this is killing us. Please fix it." Dad gruff, "You've gone too far, Lena." Miles, his voice raw, "Why would you do this? We're family." I didn't answer. Family doesn't steal your voice and call it theirs. Family doesn't erase you, but they didn't stop. A week later, I got an email from Miles's lawyer. "Cease and desist. Remove all claims to the branding." My stomach twisted. They weren't just denying it, they were fighting back. I called Priya, who laughed, a dry, confident sound. "They're bluffing. Your evidence is ironclad." Still, I needed to face them, not for them, but for me. I drove to my parents' house, the same one I'd walked away from. The fairy lights were gone, the backyard empty. Mom answered the door, her face pale, her cardigan wrinkled. Dad stood behind her, arms crossed. Miles was there, his tie loose, his eyes red. Kara hovered in the background, looking guilty. I didn't sit down. I held the USB drive, the letter, The press kit. This is my work, I said, my voice steady. You don't get to take it. You don't get to take me. Mom started crying. Lena, we didn't mean. I cut her off. You did. Every time you looked through me, every time you chose him, you meant it. Miles stepped forward. I didn't steal anything. You gave it to me. I laughed, not bitter, just clear. I gave you my time, my heart. You took the rest. Dad said nothing, his jaw tight. I turned to leave, but Kara spoke, her voice small. I'm sorry, Lena. I should have said something. I nodded, not forgiving, just acknowledging. I walked out, the gravel crunching under my feet, the air cool against my skin. Back at my apartment, I sat at my desk, the sailboat mug warm in my hands. Priya sent the cease and desist, and Miles's lawyer backed off. My website stayed live, my portfolio growing. I started a blog, sharing design tips and stories about rebuilding. Strangers commented, Your work gives me hope. I've been erased too. Thank you. The pink-haired barista, Jess, saw my site and hired me to design a logo for her candle shop. You're a badass, she said, handing me a lavender candle as payment. I laughed, the sound light, free. Last month, I launched a mentorship program, teaching design to teens who feel unseen. It's small, just Zoom calls with 5 kids, but their sketches fill my inbox, each one a spark. One girl, Mia, sent a drawing of a bird with a note. You make me feel like I can fly. I framed it, hung it next to Grandma's letter, my teacher's note, the bakery owner's email. My wall is a story now, not of loss, but of building. I don't talk to my family, not because I hate them. They're not monsters, just people who chose the easier path. I don't need their apologies. I have my work, my voice, my life. It's quieter than I expected, but it's full. My desk lamp glows over my sketches, the street outside alive with buses and laughter. I wonder, have you ever been erased by the people who were supposed to hold you up? How did you find your way back to yourself? Share your story below. I'm here, listening.